Welcome, dear students and dear talent partners, to this webinar on the impact of COVID-19 on your internship and on the internships you might be hosting very soon. We realize that these are challenging times, and therefore we have tried to make this as tailored as possible to all of the questions have been sending us in advance. If you have any questions you'd like to ask during the meeting, feel free to drop them in the Q&A section of the app. You'll see that on top of your screen. You can also send emails always to, next slide please, internships@vu.nl. The current situation is definitely challenging, as many of you might be graduating soon or simply wish to start your experience in San Francisco as soon as possible. I think we need to go back to the first slide again. Yeah, no, the very first one. Yes, thank you. So the current situation is definitely challenging. Many of you are unclear, will I be able to start my internship soon or not? There's the travel ban, there is now maybe also an immigration ban coming. Also for you as potential employers of interns in the future, what are the challenges you're currently facing? We hope that this webinar might relieve some of your questions, and we really want to reassure you that we take all your questions very seriously and will continue to work on them within the next few weeks, as we have behind the scenes throughout the last 6 weeks as well, ever since the situation started. Our speakers for today will each shed their own interesting light on the matter from multiple angles. And I will start by introducing our first speaker, who will be Maartje. Maartje is the chair of the Holland in the Valley Talent Committee. In other words, Maartje is really supporting us actively with all of her expertise in order to ensure a high quality execution of the program. Maartje has worked and lived abroad in many countries and cities, including London, including Hong Kong, including San Francisco and New York. So she really knows what she's doing. She's the head of the strategic partnerships at OmniX Holdings, a company focused on crypto assets. Before this position, she was the head of capital markets at Thomson Reuters. Maartje is an alumna from Erasmus University of Rotterdam and has a degree in economics. Maartje knows the Silicon Valley ecosystem like none other. And I'm quickly going to let her say hi to you all, so you at least have an impression of who is waiting for you. So Maartje, maybe you can quickly say hi and quickly introduce yourself.
How are you doing?
Awesome. Thank you, Maartje. The next speaker that we will be having is Casper Vroemen. He's a DuPont Palo Alto site for nutrition and biosciences, and he's also the global R&D leader, and he's been with DuPont for nearly 16 years. Casper is a Wageningen alumnus in molecular life sciences and has a PhD, was an assistant professor there. So he bridges academia and the corporate life pretty well, and therefore I think might be an inspiration for all of you. Furthermore, he has been a really active member of the Holland in the Valley network, and he has hosted multiple interns in the past. So I'm really excited also to see that. Casper, maybe you can quickly say hi as well.
Yeah, good afternoon everyone in Holland and the Netherlands, and good morning for those here in the Bay Area.
Awesome, thank you Casper for your enthusiasm as well and for making time to be here today. Our next speaker will be Eva Janssen. She's the program manager of Internships in the Valley, and she's basically the engine behind many of the interviews you guys have been having so far. She co-launched the VU Amsterdam Summer School, and therefore she really knows the ins and the outs of the educational landscape. Eva, I'm going to let you say a very quick hi as well.
Hello everyone. Most of you will already know me over email, and it's great to see that so many of you are here.
Awesome, and I'd like to ask all of you to quickly mute yourselves if possible, so that our surprise speaker for the end can also quickly say hi, and that will be Gerbert Kunst, Consul General of the Netherlands in San Francisco, who will be doing closing remarks as a special treat for you all. So maybe Gerbert, you can also quickly greet our students and talent partners.
Of course, great to see you all. Looking forward to my closing remarks, telling you a bit more about our results. So talk to you later.
Perfect, thank you. I will be your moderator for today. My name is Deborah van den Brande. I am the policy officer of the Internships in the Valley program. So I'm basically, me and Eva work in tandem, and I work from the side of the consulate in order to ensure that all of you will be hopefully starting really cool internships very soon. I have done so many internships myself in the past. I've done them in Austria and Germany, and I've moved to the US 4 years ago as a researcher. So again, I also have a feeling with the academic field. I know we have some PhD students in there, so we also definitely cater to all of you guys. Before this current job, I used to work at Belgium, the Belgian American Chamber of Commerce. They have a lot of expertise with regard to the J1 visa. So I'm really happy to bring that experience to this program and to support you with any technical questions you might have there too. Without any further ado, I know you're waiting to kick it off. I'm going to give the floor to Maartje to elaborate a bit more on the process and on where we are as a program. Maartje, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Deborah, for the introduction. Yeah, so maybe just to take one step back, right? So the Internships in the Value program is part of Holland in the Valley, which is a network of Dutch and American entrepreneurs, the Dutch universities and the Dutch government, aiming to connect the Netherlands and Silicon Valley. And through a collaboration with the VSNU, the Association of Universities in the Netherlands, we have created this internship program to introduce the brightest students in the Netherlands, i.e. all of you, to the Bay Area companies for internships. And so far we have received over 300 applications, which is absolutely fantastic. And the universities and the executive team have gone through all of these and created shortlists for each talent partner, right? So the talent partners are the companies that are here in the Bay Area that are providing the internships for the program. And these selections are very carefully tailored to the specific needs of each companies for the roles that they're looking for. And they're done by means of a very careful analysis of all candidates. And so we then had a talent committee meeting in January where we started matching your profiles with these confirmed talent partners. And we have now shared the profiles of 84 candidates with these companies. And of course, in addition to that, we're always on the lookout for new talent partners that may fit your profiles. So we currently have some promising selections at the following companies that have either started the interviewing process or already made an offer even. And some of these companies have frozen the application procedures because, you know, let's be honest, these are unprecedented times that everyone's dealing with. But, you know, obviously we're staying in close touch with these companies, right? But some of the companies that are already in the program are Adyen, Atomwise, Applied Materials, ASML, Base 5 Genomics, Demetrix, Leap, TELUS, and DuPont. And more than 30 of you guys have already been interviewing with these companies too. What else can I tell you? Then some of the other confirmed talent partners who have currently paused the process but will most likely start again soon include Silicon Valley Bank, Shell, Rose Lab, Legend Pharmaceuticals, and Leiden Technology. Now, in a nutshell, our talent partners, you know, all of these names just mentioned, they include the best that Silicon Valley has on offer. startups, scale-ups, research labs, corporates, and so on. And listen, you know, we realize that the current circumstances are delaying your start, but we're very much looking forward to welcoming you, hopefully soon, at one of our events as part of the Holland in the Valley network. And you know, in the meanwhile, you can be assured that we continue the matchmaking process for you, and as well as, you know, looking for new talent partners that are not already part of the program. So let me just stop there, Deborah.
Thank you so much, Maartje. Just for clarification, because I know a lot of students are curious to know this, Silicon Valley Bank, Shell, and all of these wonderful companies you've mentioned, they're still hiring?
Yeah, they are still very much part of our confirmed pool of talent partners. They have paused the interviewing process due to the current situation. As I said before, you know, it's obviously unprecedented times, but we are in very regular touch with them to take things up where we left them when they're ready to do so. But yeah, they're very much still confirmed as talent partners.
Thank you so much, Maartje. Wonderful to hear this. Also, for all of the students listening, make sure to drop your questions for Maartje and for our next speaker, Casper Vroemen, in the Q&A section, as they will be leaving us after a while. So make sure you send us your questions on time. I think it's time then for our first poll. So I hope that our quizmaster can draft this up, and all of you please fill out whatever applies to you. This way we get a better overview of where you are. And more concretely, the question is, based on the current situation, my intention of starting an internship in Silicon Valley, A, B, or C? And the results, amazing to hear. I think, Casper, you must be happy to read that 83% are still really keen on coming, and that 17% are really still keen on coming too, but they're just not able, if time-wise everything will work out. We'll come to speak on timing in a bit, but maybe first and foremost, I'm going to give the floor to Casper Vroemen, who will tell you a bit who will share a bit on his experiences with Dutch interns in the past. So Casper, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, so let me get started here. So I work for at DuPont, Nutrition and Biosciences. So we are really the biotechnology arm of DuPont. Legacy, Genentech, and Nisco, a couple of acquisitions. So the main R&D site for our biotech organization is in Silicon Valley, although we have a pretty sizable operation in Leiden in the Netherlands as well, actually going into a brand new building this month. So plenty of activities over there, which is why I joined the company initially and ended up in Palo Alto here in Silicon Valley, close to Stanford University 7 years ago. So American companies and many of them here in the Bay Area, and including ours, they run typically summer internships. So in the Netherlands, we have interns year round. We always have 2 or 3 interns that typically stay 4 to 5 months in Leiden. In the Bay Area here with us, that works differently and not too flexible also. We have summer interns, right? So they're always only 12 to 16 weeks in length in the time frame of June to September, right? So which is why the interns we've already had from the Netherlands, they're typically asking for 4 to 5 months of internship. So we have to be a little creative here sometimes. So we typically try to fit them in like the June to September time frame to at least have a solid 4 months of lab work, potentially extended by some initial time of preparation and report writing to make it up to like the 5 months. So what my mentors here on site are really looking for is people with a lot of passion for technical functions in biotechnology. They really like the fact that students bring in expertise and passion and certain technical expertises that we may not have or that they're looking for to expand in their teams. So my tips is also if you apply to jobs, make sure you have a LinkedIn profile and a very concise resume, but at least very much highlighting, in our case, what your technical expertise is, why you want to work in a biotech company as an intern, and also focus on your recent accomplishments. If you've already done an internship or maybe a longer research-based kind of class in university, highlight what you've done, what the techniques were that you used, as well as what you've really accomplished. Because there's only 3 to 4 months to do something here, so they're really excited about having people with some skills already. Many of those interns are a little bit further down their studies than the American counterparts here, which does make sure that they have to they are able to sort of start immediately in the lab and really start adding to the scientific work in the labs here, which is typically well appreciated and liked here based on our experience with European and in particular Dutch interns. The technical areas that we cover here in internships are anything from like biotech sciences, molecular biology, protein engineering, analytical chemistry, up to like engineering sciences, and even sort of regulatory work. And so it's pretty broad, but all biotech based. We have interviewed, we were going to interview more Dutch students this year because of the whole Corona situation. We only interviewed one this year, Egbert, trumpeter, and I think he's on the call actually here listening in. So hi Egbert, and as Egbert also knows, unfortunately, we have had to put a stop on our execution. So we have a pool of very talented candidates ready and available to start doing interns, but we have just decided that the June timeframe is not going to be realistic for us to start, because by June we would already be very happy in view of the Californian situation if we would have 10 to 15% of our own employees back on site. And with all the safety and health measures we have to take, it is not realistic to start at that time. However, we are entertaining conversations right now, discussions to see whether we can keep these interns engaged over summer and maybe have them start later in the year for those that can fit that into their schedules. In that sense, I want to say, just stay, if you're already sort of connected, stay tuned on those developments. So, so that's kind of the story, I think. Hopefully the tips, technical focus is really important for us. That may be different for other companies, but we're a highly technical R&D side here. So yeah, and US people like to see accomplishments and passion and expertise in areas. So if anything, that would be my advice. And I think I'll leave it there, Deborah.
Thank you so much, Casper. Maybe one more follow-up question. What do you think is the biggest takeaway of the interns that have done an internship at DuPont so far? Because there's many components to doing an internship, right? It's about intercultural exchange. It's about being at one of the biggest and most meaningful corporations in the field. What do you think was one of the most biggest takeaways do you think you've seen, or like growth evolution within your past interns?
Yeah, what I have seen, Deborah, is that they developed over time quite some appreciation for the depth and breadth of science and R&D in a corporation. Actually, many people think corporations sort of apply science and academia drives it. Well, we certainly collaborate a lot with academia, but actually there's a lot of really good science and innovation and inventions going on in industrial R&D as well, and they developed a good understanding of that. A major difference that they typically report back to is the teamwork aspect of doing R&D in a company. You always work as teams, and in academia it is always a bit more individual. And the very first intern I entertained from the Netherlands actually came in and said, yeah, I really want to do an internship at a company because I don't want to go into a PhD. But then he basically interacted so much with a lot of non-PhD as well as PhD level scientists in our R&D facility here, and actually changed his mind over time. And straight after the internship here in Silicon Valley, he actually wrote together with us a proposal for a PhD program. and started that in Denmark actually. So he actually saw what was going on and decided if I want to have a sort of a interesting scientist position later on in a company, you know, I maybe better get my PhD first. So he really came out of this internship with a very different mindset than when he came in. So that was very interesting to see. And I'm still in touch with him actually, because he works in our field still. So.
Thank you so much, Casper. In the meantime, I see a lot of questions coming in from all of you. I see questions whether Atomize and Silicon Valley Bank are currently talking to students. Currently, a lot of the companies have paused their interviewing process, as also Casper just elaborated on, right? We do have a shelter-in-place policy at this point in the Bay Area. Plus, a lot of companies have also frozen their hiring procedures, basically, which also applies to interns. So we are still talking to all of these companies. We are talking to them on a weekly, if not more frequently basis. But it's hard to say when they will start the hiring process again. So that's as one. You'll see that a lot of your questions will also be answered in written form on the app. I don't see necessarily a question that directly aims to Casper and Maartje, except for, I think I just saw one coming in. Maybe what is your biggest tip? How can these students prepare themselves to come to Silicon Valley and make the most out of their internship? I'm going to ask you both the same question. So maybe Maartje, I'll first go to you.
Three things, right? And I think this is also, you know, speaking from experience, you know, having been in that position myself, and you know, having lived in the US for quite a while now. But I would say three things, right? I think, first of all, preparation, right? Just make sure you're really, really prepared. So anticipate questions, you know, and practice your answers, right? What I actually still do, you know, when I'm in these type of situations, I literally write them out and then talk to myself, right? But I think that's really important, because then you come across as really prepared. I think second, in the US, it's very important that in your resume and also during the interview process, that you focus on your achievements. And so not just on what you've done and what you're responsible for, but what you actually achieved and how that is relevant to the internship, the company, how that is adding value to them, right? And then finally, from a communication perspective, I think you want to be really to the point, right? As Europeans, we tend to be perhaps a little bit like longer in our answers. They don't really like that in the US. They want you to be relatively to the point, give, you know, very crisp answers. So no rambling. You know, you want to start probably with the answer and then, you know, give the points that build up to that answer. So that's what I would say.
Great, thank you, Maartje. I think those are really good pieces of advice for all the students listening. And maybe Casper, I'll quickly give the floor to you.
Yeah, I fully copy what Maartje just said. Again, I think very much focus on what you recently achieved in the field and why is that relevant to this job, and be very crisp and also clear in your ambition. You know, we're in the middle of a very high talent area here, Berkeley, Stanford, Davis, and we even get East Coast students applying. We are in the middle of Silicon Valley. We're on the Stanford campus, so a very popular place for people to want to do an internship. So you want to make sure you stand out. And I think once you actually are accepted and come in, you want to be very open-minded. You know, there is a lot of dynamics here that is very different from the Netherlands. So you want to be open-minded and a little bit kind of in waiting, not waiting mode, but you also want to make sure that people are sort of very, you know, very driven by what we do and not necessarily primarily interested in your background. I think that will come over time. But sometimes I think as Dutch people, we have the tendency to arrive somewhere and to start telling everybody about our own lives. Whereas I think it's much better to first start investigating and asking people questions about their lives and their history, you know, and then your own situation will come later on. You know, I think I would reverse that a little bit and make sure you are showing interest and an open mind to the people that are actually hosting you, rather than turning that story around.
Thank you so much, Casper. I think this concludes the questions we have for Casper and Maartje at this point. So I'm going to let both of them return to their very busy day. Thank you so much for dialing, the two of you. And that brings us to our next part, our second poll. So everyone, to make sure to stay tuned and give us your answers. I can be flexible with regard to the starting date of my internship. Yes, no, or somewhat. We're waiting for the answers to roll in. And here we go. Nice to see that most of you are showing some kind of flexibility. This also ties in with some of the questions that we've been receiving, being, is it possible to start my internship later, or will I still be matched? Will I still be interviewing throughout the summer? The answer rather to all of those questions is yes, we will continue to match you until fall. You will be interviewing over summer where it makes sense. And if you are ready to leave at a later stage in fall or maybe even winter, even better. So we really try to cater to all of your individual situations, to the extent, of course, that it's also possible for the companies. Another question that I see popping up a few times already is whether it's possible to do internships outside of California. Unfortunately, not really, because it is the Internships in the Valley program. As Casper also just clarified, we have a super interesting ecosystem with all of these high-level universities, all of these key players. I think we have a lot to offer, so that's our prime focus for now. I will now get to the point, you'll be stuck with me for the next few minutes, just as a heads up. I will quickly give you guys an overview of the current circumstances and how that might affect your travel dates and all of that. So we do have a slide for this. So maybe the slide on the travel restrictions. Thank you. So they're wild, wild times in the wild, wild west. We're facing travel restrictions at this point. President Trump has proclaimed a travel ban and suspension of travel for all non-US citizens, except for a very few categories since early March, and also with specific focus back then on the Schengen zone, which basically prevents any of you guys from traveling to the United States at this point in time. Furthermore, we are also seeing that the Netherlands have issued a travel advice that is in state orange. It's not orange as the orange color of the Netherlands. Unfortunately, in this case, it's a negative travel advice. It's only for essential travel. For both of these categories, interns do not qualify under essential travel or under essential jobs. So basically, this means that based on the current travel situation, it's impossible for any of you, even if you have an offer secured, to come and travel to the United States. I understand that this is an insecure situation. We're not entirely sure from when on this might be changing. We do see that, for example, some flights are taking up again in frequency, and we have good hopes that this might change in the next few weeks. Maybe we can go to the next slide. And this will be about the J1 visa processing. So basically, the J1 visa process is also facing quite a few restrictions at this point in time. We have a situation where we see all of the US consulates and embassies unfortunately closed to process routine visa questions at this point. It's unclear until when this will be the case. So we will definitely be monitoring the situation super closely for the next few weeks as well. At the same time, in order to get a J1 visa, you need to work with an external organization called the J1 visa sponsor. They issue basically the necessary administration, And all of these are also discouraged from issuing those papers until mid-May at this point in time. The good news is there is a silver lining, is that our visa sponsor can already prepare your files. So all of your files can already be sent. We can already start drafting your training plan and all of that, but it won't be able to be processed until mid-May. Plus we'll have to calculate with a sort of delay. Usually the entire process takes about 6 weeks. I think now we'll have to look at about 8 weeks. So this also affects your starting date. An additional challenge we're seeing, in addition to the travel, the visa delays, is the shelter-in-place situation. Just like in the Netherlands, we're also bound to very strict rules at this point in time to guarantee the safety of everyone living in California. We've been in lockdown, not lockdown mode, sorry. We've been in shelter-in-place mode since March 16. And it's unclear until when this will be the case. There are some steps taken by the Californian government to return to the new normal. And actually we had quite an encouraging press conference yesterday by the California Governor Newsom, who basically already announced a very small first step, being that operations that are non-COVID-19 related can again resume. So we're working steadily towards a point where we might move around a bit more freely. And this will also affect the companies that you guys are applying for, because at this point, a lot of them had to lay off their staff. They were waiting for finances from the state to help them. At this point, the situation is stabilizing again a bit. So please also be careful, be patient, have understanding for the difficulties your talent partner is facing at this point in time, and be as flexible as possible. I think I can talk on and on and on about this, but I hope that you guys also see the silver lining, being that we hope to move to active internships actually in August or September, basically. This brings us then to the third poll. If not matched this year, I'm considering enrolling in the 2020 or 2021 edition of the program. I'm really excited to see what you guys will say about this one too. And I think the poll results are coming in. There we go. Okay, so about 50% of you guys are willing to enroll maybe in next year's edition. Some others of you not, totally fine. As I said earlier, we will continue the matchmaking until fall. And we will be definitely getting back to you all on this question, as we're also taking it up internally. We're moving along steadily. So I will now get actually to the woman most of you know best on the side of the students, who is Eva Janssen, the program manager. And Eva will be able to give you a bit more information on starting dates and all of those. After that, we will be addressing all of the questions you might still have. So Eva, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, so again, it's really great that so many of you are here. I recognize all the names. Yeah, thanks Deborah, Maartje and Casper for your great updates. Maybe if we can move to the next slide, I would like to tell a bit more about the timeline on behalf of the Dutch research universities, because I manage the program. Oh, I see my slides are not there, I think. Maybe this was an earlier presentation that was sent.
We're working on it, Eva, but just
oh,
continue.
No worries. Yeah, I'll continue. I know it from my head. It's totally fine. The Association of Universities in the Netherlands, they have agreed together with all universities that until July 1st, there won't be any student mobility, either incoming or outgoing. And it's also decided that after 1 July, there will be no national policy regarding mobility to countries outside of Europe. This means that if you are able to make an agreement with the company or secure an internship, that you should check with your university if it's possible to travel to the US and follow your internship there. So we are still hopeful that we can start internships from late August or September, because 2 of the students are matched already to a company named The Matrix. And we have still some companies that are continuing the interview process. It might also be nice to know that because the interview process might take a while, because often there's an interview with a technical to assess your technical skills, and also an interview for the cultural fit. Therefore, the interview we take it takes a few weeks before a decision is made, and we should start the visa procedure like 1st of July if you want to start in early September, because we expect that the visa application procedure will take longer than the regular 6 weeks. Definitely will take about 2 months because of the current implications. Yes, there's a few things that could happen now. So either you have been interviewed and you're a bit in the unknown. If that's still the case by mid-May, please reach out to us. We'll get in touch. It might also be that you're asked to postpone your internship. In that case, there might be some flexibility is required on your end, and also get in touch with us, and we're happy to mediate between you and the company on the right starting date. Or your internship might be cancelled. And then it comes back to the previous polling question, that we'd like to invite you for our next round of recruitment that takes place from 7 September, hopefully, if the current restrictions are revoked by then. So this is some things that could happen. Then to summarize our support, as you've noticed, we are here for you all throughout the matching process, both for the intern and for the talent partner. And we're also very grateful for you that you're keeping us in the loop. We like to stay informed on each step so we can help wherever help is needed. Of course, we take care of your visa procedures together with our visa sponsor, the Netherlands America Foundation, also of the costs. Once you're here, we support you with social events. You can join social events from Holland, from the Holland in the Valley network. We help you with finding housing, and we're definitely not sitting still during this time. We're building a new website, and we're building an application and matching portal. And this is something that you saw on the next slide. We're building it right now, and we would love your help in testing the portal. We will use it for the next round of recruitment that will start 7 September, if all goes well. And most of you, I feel, will be eligible for next year's edition. So if you're not matched or you haven't found an internship before the end of October, please enroll again, but we'll probably invite you already to enroll in this system already, and you can create a profile there. Companies will also be able to view your profile in the system. Please share your feedback to us. This would be very helpful. So you can expect some news from us about this, and expect news about the new website in May. And also we're working on an online magazine with steps from the moment that you arrive in San Francisco about what to do to create your life here and start this wonderful experience and adventure. We're still very hopeful we can all make this happen this year. The results have been pretty incredible so far. From some companies have interviewed 12 students, and the students have gotten technical assignments, and still nobody has been rejected. So this means you've worked hard to get to this point. You have been nominated for a reason. You've been invited for this webinar for a reason. So we are gonna work as hard as possible and do what's in our power to hopefully land you an internship in Silicon Valley if there's the right match. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you so much. I'd like to also take this up as an opportunity to share a bit on what the two of us have been doing, because it's not always easy, I think, for the students to see why it takes longer in order to be matched to a company. It's all about relationship building. We really actively look in the contacts that we have at the consulate and at Holland in the Valley. We also do specific business development for your guys' profiles in addition to this. But then every company has their own HR section. Every company has their own internship structure. So we need to make sure that we plug it all in, that we assure that you have the best possible experience. We have done tons of site visits in March in order to make sure that you guys will be ending up in a really nice and safe environment. So all of these things, of course, also take a bit of time. However, as Eva said, we're really excited about the results, and that's just because we have such a top-notch batch of students to work with. So really proud of that. Then I see some questions coming in with regard to the visas. So basically, it's not that difficult if you're eligible and if you comply with all of the rules. We would need an up-to-date resume of you guys, and we would need 1 to 2 recommendation letters, for example, from professors or others. With that documentation, we can then help your talent partner, who's also listening on this webinar right now, undoubtedly. We can help them drafting their training plan, and then we can basically submit all materials with our sponsor in order to start the administration. Once you have received all of the paperwork, you can then go to the consulate in Amsterdam, and you then are interviewed for your visa. So there we cannot really foresee what will happen. But if you really are aware of what the program is all about, and we will help you with that, you hopefully will be able to get that visa pretty soon as the consulates open again. Furthermore, I see a lot of questions coming in. Can I already start my visa and my internship from abroad? These are questions that Eva and I are currently looking into. Be careful in doing so, especially if you're talking about payment structure, especially as there will also be maybe on-site days later on in the year. Anything you do not want to jeopardize that J1 visa, and this could potentially do that. So this is really a question to all of you guys listening in, both interns and also talent partners. If you're thinking of having your students starting remotely, let us know so we can really take the best steps, have a look at each of your structures, and give you the guidance you need. Eva, maybe another question that I see coming up is about when I can start my internship. I know you've mentioned it really quickly too about the regulations and the restrictions of VSNU and their home universities, but I don't think it's entirely clear to all listeners. Maybe if you wouldn't mind taking that up again. Thank you.
Should I just repeat it? What wasn't clear to you?
Well, it's clear to me, yeah?
Okay. Oh, because you see questions.
Yes.
Oh, well. So the thing is that is not just from the university perspective, but for other reasons as well, it will be impossible to arrive in the US before July. But on behalf of the university's perspective, after 1 July, it will be decided the policy on whether as a student you can do follow a study experience or a work experience abroad will depend on your university. So just if you find an internship and want to start the internship after 1 July, you should also check with the international office of your university if you're allowed to travel to the US.
Perfect. We also get questions that are mainly with regard to what happens if, do I still need to be enrolled in order to start my internship? You need to be enrolled in order to qualify for the Internships in the Valley program. That hurdle you have taken. You have about a year after graduation date to start your internship. So if you've graduated in the meantime, do not worry. You don't need to enroll again with your university. Your enrollment when you applied for the program suffices until you start your internship.
For administrative purposes, we will, and for administrative purposes, we will ask you to enroll and fill out the application form. So we have everything in the same format, in the same place, in a new application portal. Exactly.
And I see a question coming in from Rosanna, who's asking basically, let me draft it up again. Does that mean that our place from Internships in the Valley 1920 will be saved, or would we have to reapply? Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Rosanna, you would need to reapply. We know you pretty well by now, believe it or not, even though we haven't met. We know your profile.
Yeah.
We will try everything we can to have you matched. However, we will have to take you up again against the new competitors in the next round. So I think that also gives you an idea there. Any further questions I see coming in? Can I partake in an Internships in the Valley social event outside of your organization? That question is not entirely clear to me, to be honest. There will be events definitely for interns all over the city. Feel free to take part in those once you're here.
No, I think she means of our program.
Exactly, but I just want to say we will also be organizing our own in-house event specifically for you, also part as a Holland in the Valley network here on site in San Francisco. So that's something to look forward to. And Eva, we will also be organizing some events in the Netherlands, right?
Right, but I think she means if she's taking an internship that's not part of the Internships in the Valley program, if she can still join our events. I think, yeah, but if you find an internship yourself, please send us an email with the information, because we might be able to form a partnership with them. But in the case this is not possible, I think it won't be possible, because we have to focus on our program, and otherwise there are a lot of Dutch students doing an internships in Silicon Valley, and we are focusing on our specific cohort. But we will be very open to explore if a partnership with your internship company is possible.
And then I also see a question coming in here from Rinze Bloem. Is there any way to get in contact with the other students applying for certain partners? Could be useful for practicing the interviews, for example. Rinze, thank you for this excellent question. So this is basically also one of the features that will be offered with the online matching portal. There you will have a forum and you will be able to exchange experiences with other students. Right now, if you have a very specific question, feel free to send it to Eva and me after this webinar, and we will be able to see who we might be able to put you in touch with. So definitely happy to work with you on that too. Maybe one last question. I see a question if the restrictions for travel apply also for different types of nationalities. At this point, even the border with Mexico is mostly closed to, except for really essential travel. So at this point, there's not really a restriction based on nationality. It's just all of the incoming travel is discouraged unless it's really essential, which again, an intern program is not regarded as essential according to these guidelines. With regard to the visa application, there might be some small changes, right? If you're from Canada, because I see that Zachary has asked a question. I know that Zachary has Canadian nationality. You might fall in a different bucket than the others, but other than that, it's the same for everyone. Eva, do you see any other question coming in that you'd like to take at this point?
Yes, I see a question from Ege Kortan. He's a candidate that has secured an internship himself at ASML, and through him we have got in touch with ASML, and they are actually interested in more for candidates for internships. So Ege, thank you very much and very well done. And I know we've been in touch and you are doing your internship remotely. However, we have some hesitations with virtual internships. I wanted to make a note about that before I go into your questions. Because often companies are not aware of the US labor laws. If you can basically not get paid for the internship if it's not through a Dutch holding.
I'm gonna chime in here. Okay. We will take that question offline. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well.
So I don't see any other pressing questions at this point in time, because for every company, it's a different structure, basically. So we would really need to analyze every company. Ege, we're working on it. We're in touch with ASML. You can trust me. I've been talking to Kitty. We will make sure to get back to you with an answer. But at this point, we're not legal counsel, so we will not be giving legal advice through this medium. And we will always make sure to check with our legal counsels. At this point in time, Eva, I'd like to thank you so much for all of your feedback and input. I would now like to give the floor to our concluding remarks by none other than our Consul General, Gerbert Kunst, who's basically also at the very early beginnings of this program. Without Gerbert Kunst, there probably would not have been Internships in the Valley program. So Gerbert, the floor is all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Deborah. Thank you, Eva. I think you did a great job. It was just great to hear your stories and how to really help students get here an internship. I think the program is really, like you said, close to my heart. And then again, we live in unprecedented times. It's just here, stay at home and stay safe. That are the main things now. So I would just like to say to you that we're really looking forward to welcoming you here in Silicon Valley. And I would like to thank also the partnership of VSNU, Mirjam van Praag and Pieter van Duisenberg. For us, this program is really very interesting because we can really match the brightest minds of the Netherlands, you all, to Silicon Valley and to our partners here in the Valley, because we of course know a lot of companies that are interested in Dutch talent. We already have 15 confirmed partners, talent partners as we call them, and we have 30 plus to come. And I think it's great to maybe mention a few tangible results, because our former colleague, Governor Jerry Brown, always sort of gets the impression you have to head for tangible results. So I think we already have 3 matches of students for an internship, and there will be more to follow. I learned that this morning. And we have a magazine coming up in May, and we have as well blogs telling you how life is in Silicon Valley. And furthermore, we are even looking forward to start the online platform. The online platform will give you a very nice digital tool to connect you to peers, to connect you to the partner companies. So we think this is a wonderful way of sort of getting you involved. And of course, it's a pity you'll have to wait perhaps till July or August or a bit later. But I think in the end, we will make it happen. I'm pretty sure about that. And just maybe to give you an extra sort of incentive, we discussed with VSNU that we would love to have you, once you sort of finished your internship, to get you this title. You will be bestowed as Holland in the Valley Fellow. And I think it's just a very remarkable kind of title to show that this is really a very important program, not only for the consulate, not only for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but as well for VSNU, and I hope for all of you. Because the opportunity to get a chance to involve and to really dive into Silicon Valley, I think will really give you a wonderful insight in the world and in your own personal growth. So let me keep it there and give it back to Deborah. Wish you all the best, stay safe, and looking forward to seeing you soon here in Silicon Valley. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gerbert. So I hope that this webinar has answered the most of your very pressing questions. I hope you also see that regardless of all of the difficulties and challenging times, we are moving ahead with the program. And we have good hopes that the situation will ease up. In the meantime, we've launched a WhatsApp number, which is now projected on your screens. That will end up with me. So any questions you have specifically about the J1 visa process, sorry, I got stuck there for a second, or any other questions with regard to Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, contact with your host company, feel free to send them my way. Keep an eye out for our new website for a festive announcement of our first 3 matches and of our e-magazines that will all be coming online in May. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Gerbert, for the wonderful closing remarks. Thank you, Eva, for all of your assistance and everything you do on a daily basis. Thank you all for your trust and for participating in the program. We will share this recording online.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.